Right.
But 25% cost savings, 30% increase of sales.
Right.
And they got all this additional time back and less stress, all because of the strategies that you implemented.
Yeah, and it's a team effort, right? I mean,
Hey everyone, it's me, Sonny, here with Commercial Finance Partners, and this is another episode of The Real Deal on CFP TV. So today I have a special guest, Heidi Hattendorf, who I met through an amazing networking group called the Exit Advisor Alliance. And Heidi is a very seasoned marketing professional. She is actually a fractional CMO, and here today she's going to explain what exactly that is, but more importantly, a real example of a business that she helped. So Heidi, thanks for being here with me today.
oh, thanks so much for having me on, Sonny. Just great to see the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been talking about this for so long, so glad to finally make this happen. It's very exciting. You're actually our very first third-party guest on this show.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting and a big milestone for you.
Absolutely. So the first thing, just to kick it right off, and we're going to get right into it. But first, we discussed beforehand, I think a lot of people in business, especially in our line of work, consulting with various business owners, are really familiar with what a fractional chief financial officer is, a fractional CFO, where you're outsourcing to, someone who has experience as a chief financial officer. You're a CMO, so could you explain from your point of view what a fractional CMO really is?
Sure, absolutely. And you're right. Within this industry, and not only the exit, but within the financial sector, I hear that a lot on the fractional CFO. CMO, same concept. So I provide fractional strategic services all the way through to execution. But it's the idea that they don't have to bring on a full-time person to do this. Think, for example, growing company, a lot of changes, and they may need different skill sets at different points. And so as a fractional CMO, I come in, I can partner up with the CEO, with the COO, with others, even help build out their marketing team, their marketing stack. But look at, more importantly, what is the strategy, what are they trying to do, and then recommend a plan and a way to get there.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And, for someone to consider bringing on fractional CMO, they obviously want to bring on someone that has a lot of experience, and obviously you do. Could you maybe just tell the audience a little bit about some of your marketing experience?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really key as well to this is having that background, having that experience. So I've got a lot of corporate experience, a number of years with Motorola on the corporate side in marketing, business development roles, then also medium-sized SaaS companies. So really driving growth from that perspective, and more recently as Chief Marketing Officer. So being able to understand the full realm, not only of marketing, but also go-to-market, being able to bring in leads, hand that over to sales, but also building up the brand, the storytelling, and how this gets communicated out to the market. So I've got a number of years with that, and then also with mentoring startups. So all along I've been mentoring startups, have been on various boards, and then, part of networking groups like this, like Exit Advisors, and then, other networking groups. I'm also an adjunct advisor for a couple university programs, grad programs on entrepreneurship, as well as where they need go-to-market and marketing expertise.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, and especially at the local universities and, colleges, I know they pay a strong focus on developing startup businesses. So good to hear that you have some advice on the startup. But you can also, you have experience with corporations as well.
Yeah, and that's a good mix, like having the corporate, down to startup. And then I've been doing the fractional for 2 years now, which has been great. And really rewarding to see the growth in the businesses.
That's amazing. So thanks for sharing your experience. Now, this is The Real Deal on CFP TV. So we talk about real transactions that could affect you as a small business or, lower mid-market company, all the way to large corporations. We're here to help everybody. So, Heidi, there is a business that you helped with, implementing some marketing strategies. So, we're not going to name names, but could you tell me a little bit about the type of company that we're going to discuss today?
Sure. Yeah, and I find that this company is actually quite representative of some of the challenges and problems that we've seen and opportunities that are really out there. This particular company is out in the Northeast, professional services, very much was driven around like a family business, and that type of setup. So very much dependent on referrals and in their own personal network. Had a good footprint, but they were looking to grow, and they were really looking to get leads and get business in other ways than just purely through their own network.
And how did you come across this client? Was it referred to you? Did you do some type of marketing? Were you introduced by anybody? Like, how did you actually meet this client?
Yeah, this particular one was a referral. And that's why, I always tell companies too, I mean, it's great to have the referral business, and you want to keep that as a core part. So yeah, they came in through a referral.
This was referred to you, okay.
Yeah,
and it's very important to know that, because, to get a referral, you have to have, someone has to have a good experience with you and think of you as the go-to. So that also speaks to your experience. And so when you start, so now you're introduced to the client, and there's a different type of conversation, I think, when you get referred to someone rather than, some type of lead that may, have been generated somehow. And so, I'm sure you have kind of a standard way of, kind of having that first conversation with every client just to get an understanding of the business. But could you maybe just explain a few of the types of questioning that you might have for a client like this?
Yeah, sure. And you're right. And it's a little different. And all at the same time, I feel that even if it's a referral, I need to prove myself and I need to demonstrate value regardless how they came in. But yeah, I always want to start with where are they today? What does the picture look like today? And then where do they want to get to? What are those business goals? What does that look like and where they want to get to? And then what have they tried so far? What's working, what's not? So it's really a formula of going from A to B, and then how have they tried to get there so far? And a lot of times what I'm hearing is that they're using an outdated playbook. Some things just aren't working as well. There's increased competition. And at the same time, a lot of times they're being approached by companies that are very deep in one particular area of expertise. They want to go really deep on ads, or they want to go really deep on search engine optimization, SEO, or even answer engine optimization. But yet they haven't even started with, is this company, who's their ideal customer profile? What's the overall marketing plan? How are they different from competition? So that's what I try to find out from the very beginning. Where are they at today? Where do they want to get to? And what have they tried so far?
That's very interesting. It's very similar to the types of questioning we have at Commercial Finance Partners, because we're trying to understand the background details of the company, where they're at now, like you said, but ultimately what they're trying to do and solve backwards. And there's a lot of parallels between what we do on the finance and insurance side and what you're explaining now, because being, from that consultant broker approach, if you will, is that you're not just locked into one company that does one strategy and trying to fit everyone into that one bucket. So, and it sounded like from what you said, they were very good with word of mouth. They have a lot of, referrals and, past customers and things like that, but they want to expand.
Right.
And they were speaking with a lot of different, let's call it marketing consultants or whoever it might have been. They're getting different messages, from different people they're speaking with. So did they come to you with like, hey, I want this strategy, or did they come to you saying, hey, I want a certain type of marketing, campaign, or did you have to then give them, hey, here's where I think,
Yeah, no, and I hear what you're saying about the parallels. I think it's a great analogy about having an unbiased view. Like my only bias is I want to help them grow their business. So in a similar way to what you described, I would say they knew what they didn't want, and they were frustrated with the type of approaches that they've had that were obviously quite narrow, and maybe could work down the line, but just they weren't really the right solution at the right time, and very expensive. And that's the other thing too, is I really believe in a metered approach. Like, let's start with something, test it out, see it's working, pivot, make some nuanced changes, and then go deeper, right? Before going all in. So they had an idea of what they wanted, but they weren't quite clear. And it was obvious that they needed a modernized digital approach as well, having a digital footprint. They had a lot of competition coming in from other areas. and all of a sudden entrenching on what they thought was their space, right? And I see that a lot too, where, if you don't have that digital footprint, the referrals can only get you so far because there's all this other competition happening online. So they knew they needed something, didn't quite know what they needed, didn't want to get taken advantage of from, some of the other approaches, and just wanted a consistent approach that was going to work.
Okay. So was there then maybe one strategy that you put in? Was there, multiple, stages? Like, could you explain the type of strategy that you actually, help them implement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to break it down into pieces just to make it more manageable and clear and transparent. So I always start with a strategy. And sometimes it sounds like, oh, that sounds a lot, but it goes actually pretty quick because it's very focused.
Okay.
And then they're part of it. They're building the strategy too, and we're doing this together. And it always ties to the overall company goals. Okay, so now we're translating that overall business strategy into the marketing and go-to-market strategy. So that's really the first part. So I start that with a workshop. I get the right stakeholders from the business involved.
Okay.
Build that out, and they're building it along with me. And then we're turning that into a plan, so into an actionable plan. And that's one of the key deliverables. And then there's usually a couple routes. Sometimes they'll need content that goes with that. So, for example, some thought leadership content that can also help with their visibility and telling their story, some great branding content. Other times they just need more of a marketing engine. And so it could be a CRM, it could be, social posting, it could be ads, but a lot of times they may or may not even have a robust CRM or approach to that. So then I'll help get them set up on that. And then it's really the content that fuels that, and the connected strategy and the consistency. I think it's also important not to overwhelm, because if they haven't had a digital presence or it hasn't been working, you don't want to all of a sudden take away time that they don't have to go do this. So,
right, because it would be a big shock going from what they're doing now, which is very little. It sounded like they were doing very little marketing, if anything at all. And then just to implement this huge system all at one time is not going to be feasible. Probably is designed to fail if you did it that way. So you you helped them gradually implement this process.
Yeah, it's a really
and by
great
the way,
point.
what were some of the key components of that strategy?
Oh, sure. So I would say the very first one is the positioning. So how are they different from competition? What do they bring that's unique? Why would someone buy from them? And it sounds really fundamental, but sitting down and working that out and then turning that into a messaging matrix and figuring out what are the right taglines and just the right messages to have around that. That's so important. And also looking at, keywords that are going to go up on the website. But being able to really articulate that, I think, is so important. So we start with that, and then very quickly we evaluate different marketing channels, different go-to-market motions. For example, in the professional services, what are some of the industry organizations? Are they active? What accreditations do they have? But then also looking at, what are some of the digital? Are they going to focus more on outbound and sending out information? Can they drive inbound with, let's say, download a white paper or, come take a look at this video? And to opt in, events, events is big too. And being cautious of budget, can't do it all, but let's look at a targeted plan that's going to capture a few of these and then see where they're getting most of the momentum. Yeah,
and that really goes towards what we were talking about over the last few weeks is that, where to start, because they're bombarded by other, consultants, and I mean, as a business owner, you're always getting hit with advertisements, and hey, do this strategy, do that strategy. You're talking to your friends, they say, hey, I did this, you should do this, but what is right for that company? And it could be so confusing and overwhelming that most of the time people do nothing.
Right. That's so true.
Weeks, months, years go by of doing nothing, but they know they need to change because they know their competitors, like you said, are making a larger effort into getting more awareness, taking away from their market share, and they knew they needed to act now. So you came in, you were able to sort it out, and so implementing this type of strategy, ultimately, and this is really the point of this show, to really exemplify and help clients understand what something actually does for them. So could you explain what you believe your strategy really did for that client?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important what you're saying about measuring the results, seeing what the impact is, and being able to know that this worked and that this made a difference. So, I mean, the thing that really jumps out is the time that they got back. So, you know, how much time was spent before just with these manual efforts, and now having this automated. So being able to get the time back, but that also freed up a lot of mental capacity. So just thinking through, oh, I've got to do this and these endless to-do lists, being able to have some of that automated through technology, still with human oversight, but that was a huge relief. And it meant that it freed them up to do more strategic, spend more time with clients, do the things they love, also be with family, right? So that's really fundamental, is life change, right? The financials, though, were also phenomenal. I know this is your area. So their sales went up immediately because all of a sudden they were tapping on, let's say, existing clients that didn't realize that they had these additional services. And then they were reaching new clients because even their referrals started to increase. So their sales, I would say the sales themselves went up 30%, within the year. And it's because they, as you mentioned, they weren't doing as much on the digital side, so they were able to get this bump. And now they've got this nice, consistent engine. They were also able to save costs because of the efficiency. So even people that were in more administrative roles freed up time, and then that let them get to other cost savings. So about a 20-25% cost savings that we're seeing.
So 25% cost savings.
Yeah.
They got back their time. They cleared up the mental, the mental space, let's just call it.
Right.
But 25% cost savings, 30% increase of sales.
Right.
And they got all this additional time back and less stress, all because of the strategies that you implemented.
Yeah, and it's a team effort, right? I mean, I did that together with the company, and they're really the hero in the story. I look at myself as a guide, helping them look at what is the right strategy, evaluate what's the right way to approach it. I always like to give options too, because then they know the nuances within the industry. But I'm there to help guide them and to help put forward those strategies, knowing what works. So it's really a team effort in that. But yeah, they were absolutely thrilled with it, and a loyal customer today. That's amazing that you were able to do this and really help this client. And that has to be rewarding for you as well. Not the financial incentives. Obviously, we're all here to make money, but you have to like what you do. So really, I mean, how did this make you feel, knowing that you helped this company in that way? Yeah, no, it's such a great point. I love what I do, and I love helping companies and applying what I have done my entire career, and then taking it, packaging it up, and seeing results. Just seeing the change that happens, and seeing them get their time back, seeing this make a difference out there. And that's why I do what I do, and am able to really help them get to that next level. So it's definitely rewarding.
Well, thanks for sharing the story. I really appreciate you spending the time with us here and sharing, how you really were able to help this client. And so Heidi, thank you again for being here.
Oh, well, Sonny, thank you. And thanks so much for just having me on here and being able to share the story and help others too. And thanks for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. So if you're watching out there, hit a like on this, follow us for more content that are similar to this, about stories about how some of the strategies that here at Commercial Finance Partners that we offer, but also our partners out there. And so to get connected with Heidi, her information will be in the comments section. Definitely hit a like, follow us for more content like this, and we'll see you next time on The Real Deal on CFP TV. If you found this video to be helpful, hit a like and follow us for more information like this. And if you or a client of yours would like to know more about financing for your small business, visit us at www.commercialfinancepartners.com. Fill out the information form, and one of our business development officers will reach out to you with more information. We look forward to working with you.